ever wondered what happens when you send a message or stream a video? It's something we all do countless times a day without giving it much thought. You hit send, and your message zips off to the other side of the world in what feels like an instant. But the process behind it is far more complex than most people realize. Contrary to popular belief, the internet isn't some sort of mystical cloud floating above us. It's a vast network of physical cables, servers, and data centers, working together to move information around the globe. It's a bit like a high-tech postal system, but instead of letters and packages, it's data being delivered. In this episode, we'll explore how the internet's infrastructure works and follow the journey your data takes when you browse the web or send a message. From underwater cables stretching across oceans to servers routing data, we'll break down what goes on behind the scenes every time you go online. All right, so what is the internet really? We use it for everything, from sending emails to watching cute dog videos. But have you ever stopped to think about what's happening behind the scenes? Spoiler, it's not just floating around us like magic Wi-Fi dust. In simple terms, the internet is a massive global network. Imagine it like a web connecting billions of devices across the world. Your phone, laptop, and even your smart fridge, if you're feeling tech-savvy, are all part of this huge system. And when these devices need to talk to each other, they use a common set of rules, called protocols, to make sure the message gets across smoothly. Even though we think of the internet as wireless, most of it runs through physical cables and infrastructure. So when you send a message or stream a video, that data doesn't just fly through the air. It travels through a network of real-world cables, servers, and routers, bouncing from one point to another as it makes its way across the globe. So, in a nutshell, the internet is this vast, invisible highway that's constantly moving data at lightning speed. And every time you hit send or play, your data is off on quite the adventure. All right, let's talk about the internet's backbone, the stuff that makes it all work. First, you've got the undersea cables. These are literally lying on the ocean floor, connecting continents. Imagine a bunch of high-tech spaghetti stretching across the globe. There are over 1.3 million kilometers of these fiber optic cables down there. Then, we've got data centers. These are massive facilities filled with rows of servers, powerful computers that store, process, and manage data. Every time you access a website, watch a video, or save something to the cloud, data centers are doing the heavy lifting. These centers are scattered around the world, and they operate 24/7 to keep the internet running smoothly. And finally, servers, the real workhorses of the internet. A server is just a computer, but instead of sitting on your desk, it's part of a giant network, handling requests from millions of people at once. Think of them as the middlemen of the internet. When you click on a website, your request goes to a server, which then sends the website's data back to you. Simple, but incredibly powerful. Now combine all these elements, undersea cables, data centers, and servers, and you've got the physical infrastructure that keeps the internet moving. Now that we know the internet's physical backbone, let's get into the real adventure. When you send a message, stream a video, or even just load a website, your data doesn't travel as one big chunk. Instead, it's broken into smaller pieces called packets. Think of these packets like tiny digital postcards. Each one carries a little bit of your data, plus instructions about where it's headed and how to reassemble itself when it arrives. These packets are pretty efficient, zipping through the internet like hyperactive couriers. Now, where do they go? First stop, your router. It's like the traffic cop of your home network, making sure each packet gets pointed in the right direction. From there, your data gets passed along to your internet service provider, ISP. This is where things get interesting. The ISP is like the local post office, sending your packets off to their destination through a network of switches and routers. And if your destination is halfway across the world, those packets are going to hit the big leagues, undersea cables and data centers we talked about earlier. But the trip isn't a straight shot. Your data takes a series of hops through different routers, sometimes traveling through multiple countries, before finally reaching the server that holds the website or file you're looking for. Once it gets there, the server sends packets back to your device, making the reverse journey. All this happens in a matter of milliseconds, faster than you can blink. Your packets travel at almost the speed of light, and thanks to the magic of protocols, they always know how to find their way home. Ever had one of those moments where a video won't load, and you're sitting there staring at a spinning circle, wondering if your internet's on a coffee break? Yeah, we've all been there. So, what gives? Why is your internet lightning fast one moment and slower than a snail in molasses the next? It all comes down to speed and latency. Internet speed is pretty much what you'd expect, how quickly data moves between your device and the server. The faster the speed, the quicker those packets of data can zip back and forth. But that's not the only factor. Enter latency, the sneaky culprit behind those frustrating delays. Latency is basically the time it takes for your data to make the round trip from your device to a server and back. Think of it like the difference between sending a text to someone across the street versus someone on the other side of the planet. The further your data has to travel, the higher the latency. This is why you might notice a bit of a lag when streaming a live event from another country or playing an online game with someone halfway around the world. But that's not all. Sometimes, even if your connection is fast, you can run into network congestion. Picture it like rush hour on the internet's highways, too much traffic trying to squeeze through the same path at once. It can slow everything down, no matter how good your connection is. That's why your internet might feel super speedy at 2 a.m. when fewer people are online, but slow to a crawl during peak hours. So, if you ever find yourself waiting for a video to load or a web page to refresh, you're likely facing a combination of latency, speed limits, or internet traffic. It's all part of the complex web, pun intended, that keeps the internet running. Most of the time anyway. Now that we've got the basics down, let's sprinkle in a few fun facts about the internet that might surprise you. First off, did you know that there's a cable called the faster cable, which stretches from the US to Japan and can transfer 60 terabits of data per second? To put that in perspective, that's like streaming 30 million HD movies at once. Mind blown yet? And get this, these undersea cables are tough. They've got to withstand everything from underwater landslides to curious sharks who apparently like to take a bite. Yes, really. Luckily, they're built with layers of protection, so one nibbly shark won't knock out your internet connection. Here's another fun one. The internet's weight? If you gathered all the electrons moving through the internet at any given time, they'd weigh roughly 50 grams, about as much as a strawberry. So next time someone says the internet is heavy with data, you know your line. So next time you send a message or stream a video, remember there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Your data is traveling through a network of undersea cables, routers, and servers, all in milliseconds. The internet may seem invisible, but it relies on a vast physical infrastructure to keep everything running smoothly. From fiber optic cables deep in the ocean to data packets zipping across the globe, it's an impressive system. And when things slow down, you can now appreciate just how much work goes into making the internet function. Stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next episode.